Hey everyone, Ronan here, and welcome back to the channel. We got a lot of things to cover today, but before we get into that, we gotta do a couple of things. You know the usual. We gotta shout out the Patreon. Cronus4i, thank you very much for the support. And also, everyone, analytics are very important. So please make sure to drop a like and drop a comment so that way we can help fuel the algorithm. And also, if you're new to the channel, please don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so that way you'll never miss another upload. But with all that being said, let's get into What If Brock Took the Gym Challenge, Part 11. I hope you enjoy. We begin today's part right where we left off in the last place, with Brock, Joe, Giselle, Leon, and the rest of the group all staring down a monstrous serpent that has emerged from the depths of the lake they are beside. The group can do nothing but brace themselves as a tidal wave of water comes crashing down on them, putting out their campfire and washing away all of their supplies. As all the humans and the Pokemon begin to regain their faculties and their vision comes into focus, it's revealed to be a giant red serpent, something that Brock is very familiar with, yet very different. It looks like a Gyarados. However, it's red and much larger than the one that he carries, and it appears not to be too happy with all these humans that have camped out along the side of its lake, as it begins to attack with the Hyper Beam, laying waste to everything in the surrounding area. The humans can do nothing but duck and cover as they try to avoid being hit by the attack. While there appear to be some close calls, it looks like that everyone was able to make it through that first barrage unscathed. Well, almost everybody. Joe's Choodle and Leon's Charmeleon were both hit by the Hyper Beam. Brock watches as both of their trainers tend to their Pokemon, only for a rage-filled cry to ring out through the surrounding area, as Gyarados is going back on the attack again. However, this time it's with a Dragon Pulse, as it once again lays waste to everything in the surrounding area. Joe and Leon both have little time to recall their Pokemon, before barely making it out with the hairs on their heads briefly singed from the power of the attack. Knowing he's gonna have to do something, Brock sends in both Karkle and Joltik in an attempt to try and draw the attention off of his friends, and surprisingly, Giselle comes to his aid as well, sending in both Marowak and her Farfetch'd. While Brock tries to thank her for the assistance, Giselle tells him to mind his own business. This is for the greater good. It's not because she has some sort of deep connection with him or something. So, after all this is over, they're going to go right back to where they were before, being enemies, as the two trainers order all of their Pokemon to converge on Gyarados and start attacking. However, this is going to be to little success, as Gyarados is able to easily brush all of them away with an Aqua Tail that sends all of them careening, sliding across the landmass. This unfortunately takes out both Joltik and Marowak, but Farfetch'd and Karkle are both able to still stand, as Farfetch'd was right behind Karkle when it took the Aqua Tail, and it was able to absorb the power of the attack, increasing its speed to the highest point possible. This allows for a second assault that is actually going to see some success, as Karkle rushes in and slams into Gyarados with an ancient power. This is followed by Farfetch'd, as it uses its leak to try and spring up and smack the Gyarados on the head in an attempt to knock it out. However, this is going to be the end of the foul, as it is met with a Hyper Beam at point blank range, sending it into a nearby ridge, forcing Giselle to run to check on her Pokemon. This just leaves Brock as the main focus of the serpent's attention. However, Karkle's feeling in the mood for some new snakeskin boots, and it's not going to let this serpent push it around, as it rushes in again at the command of Brock, trying to use a smackdown to cause some more damage. But unfortunately, the rock type has hit the limits of his endurance, as another Dragon Pulse is able to blast it away, bringing its tenure in this assault to an end. This just leaves Brock alone, staring down the Gyarados, as all of the other trainers had used the distraction that he had created to get the distance away from this Gyarados. Knowing he needs Vamoose, Brock recalls Karkle in an attempt to turn tail and run for cover. However, this isn't going to be as easy as he thought, as Gyarados has seen Brock as the main aggressor of this group, as they have entered its territory, and now he wants to make sure that Brock doesn't make it out with his skin still intact. So the serpent fires another Hyper Beam in an attempt to hit the boy. While the aim is just a little off, landing just in front of Brock, it stops him cold in his tracks, as there's nothing he can do or nowhere he can go. The boy can only turn to stare down what is certain doom. However, Brock will not remain frozen in fear. He's not going to let this stop him from being able to save his friends, and he knows that there's only one choice that he has that could possibly stand up up to this thing as he readies the ball of his mother's strongest Pokemon. Gyarados, I choose you! The matriarchal serpent pops from the ball, ready to engage in a fight with whoever decided that it was right for it to be locked in that wretched ball once more. However, as Gyarados emerges from the ball, the full scope of the situation comes into view as it can see the giant red Gyarados staring it down. And unfortunately, to Brock's surprise, the red Gyarados is much larger than his Gyarados, almost twice the size as a matter of fact. However, his Gyarados isn't one to back down from a challenge, as it immediately engages with the serpent, as it needs something to let out its aggression on. What follows is a knockdown, drag-out fight between the two, as they try to establish the dominance over one another. But unfortunately for Brock, and the sole surviving memory of his mom that he carries with him, Gyarados is unable to stand up to the red one, and it ends up losing, taking Hyper Beam and Dragon Pulses back to back that send it sliding across the wild area into an open rock face, head first. This knocks it out cold, and Brock can do nothing but watch as this enemy Gyarados finishes it off with a Hyper Beam. With his last hope of being able to stave off any type of assault from this thing now unconscious, Brock does nothing but watch, frozen in fear, finally succumbing to his primal instincts. But luckily for the group, they have a guardian angel, as the gym leader of Motostoke, Kabo, was in the wild area for some late night training. Gyarados' assault was forced to halt as a blinding light catches the attention of it and everyone around him, as what appears to be a Dynamax Pokemon engages with the Gyarados. Whatever this thing is, it is a fire type, and it is far larger than anything that the Gyarados can produce. It is easily able to take out the water type, sending it back to the depths of the lake from which it came, and saving Brock and his friends from certain doom. This is where Kabo runs up to the group, asking if they are alright, to which Brock is finally able to break out of his trance, replying that they are, thanks to the gym leader. Kabo reprimands all of the kids for being in this area at this time of night. It's a very dangerous area with a lot of high-level Pokemon that live in it. Only a fool would be out here after sunset. However, Brock tells the gym leader not to get angry with everyone. It was his idea to come out here. After the gym battle, he wanted a place to train, to get stronger, so he figured the best way to do that was to be in the middle of where strength was, the wild area. While Kabo is peeved with the boy, he can't fault Brock for wanting to get stronger, though the way he went about it was foolish. He tells Brock that he shouldn't do this again. Now, come on, let's go back to the city, so that way we can get all of your Pokemon checked up. All of the kids recall their Pokemon before heading off, while Brock goes over to tend to Gyarados. Unfortunately, the serpent is out cold, and it looks like it got the worst of all of the damage that anybody had took. Brock knows it's going to need some time to recover, which means it's going to be out of its Pokeball, and that could be a whole nother disaster. But unfortunately, the boy's not going to have any choice, as he recalls Gyarados to run off, catching up to his friends. About an hour later, we find the group of kids sitting in the lobby of the Pokemon Center with Kabo, as he is once again scolding them for that foolish decision that they had made. However, this is where Leon chimes in, as he tells Kabo that he can't be mad at him. He's never met the old man before, and he was going to be in Motostoke tonight if he hadn't run into Brock in the first place and they had a Pokemon battle. That's when Brock decided to make camp in the wild area, so he was just hanging out because they were offering him free food. However, Sonia tells the boy to shut up. They don't need his 2 cents, and Leon isn't doing anything to help the situation, who has been unusually quiet since they turned their Pokemon into Nurse Joy. While they're all sad about their Pokemon and they're hoping that they're okay, they have the wrong idea about what's going through Brock's mind. He's not hoping that his Pokemon are okay. He's hoping that Gyarados doesn't cause a rampage inside of the Pokemon Center, forcing another scene of destruction like what happened at the lake. Luckily, the boy's fears are put to rest when he sees the whites in Nurse Joy's eyes. The pink-haired woman tells everyone that their Pokemon will be fine. They're gonna need a day or so of rest, but after that, they'll be able to take them home. However, she needs to talk to the owner of the Gyarados, to which Brock stands up. She informs Brock that he is foolish for what he had done, to which the boy slumps his head, as he's already gotten a mouthful from Kabo. However, this tongue lashing is going to be a little bit worse, as Nurse Joy informs Brock that he needs to let Gyarados out of its ball more. Because he hasn't engaged with it and allowed it to exercise, the serpent is malnourished, and because of it, the battle that you put it through made all of the injuries that it got that much worse. This catches everyone by surprise as they inquire to what Nurse Joy is talking about. She says that just because Pokemon are resting in their Pokeballs doesn't mean they don't need to be let out every once in a while. If you don't, then it's going to be akin to holding somebody captive and not allowing them to experience anything, or eat, or get any type of fluids in their system. They're gonna grow weak over time, and eventually they'll succumb to the malnourishment and mistreatment that you've given them. This is a shock to everyone, but none more than Brock, as the only thing he can think of is how much time Gyarados has spent in that ball since his mother died. It's been over a year, and the times that it's been out has been less than what he can count on a hand. A weight of guilt washes over the boy, as with tears in his eyes, he asks if Nurse Joy can lead him to where Gyarados is. He needs to see the serpent. At first, the medical practitioner is hesitant in doing this, as when cases of neglect for Pokemon are found, she is supposed to report them to the proper authorities. However, Brock pleads with her. He didn't know. It was my mother's Gyarados, and after it died, the only thing that we could do to control it was keep it in the ball. I didn't know that we were actually hurting it. I was just trying to prevent it from hurting other people. Nurse Joy looks into Brock's tear-filled eyes, and although she's upset with how he's handled this situation, she can see that the words that he speaks are genuine. So she tells him that she will not report this neglect to Officer Jenny, but if he intends to be Gyarados' trainer, then he needs to do better by it. Now follow me. Nurse Joy then leads Brock outside of a pair of double doors behind the Pokemon Center to where a pool of water is. At the bottom of it, Gyarados lays, currently sleeping due to all the damage that it took. I will leave you now, Nurse Joy says, as she turns to walk back inside of the building to tend over the other Pokemon that has been brought to her. This just leaves Brock alone standing at the edge of the water. He's not really sure what to do. Gyarados could wake up any moment now, and if it does, then everything around it could be laid to waste. But then again, has his own fear and neglect of the Pokemon been the cause of everything that's been happening? The only thing Brock can do is just sit down by the edge of the pool, staring deep into the water at the sleeping Gyarados, while Brock and the rest of the people that they were with watch on from the doorway, wondering if the boy is alright. However, this is a journey he's gonna have to take alone, as Brock begins to think about all of his past experiences with Gyarados and with his mom. When Brock was younger and his dad was out on the road, the only person he knew was his mother. Sure, being the oldest allowed him the luxury of actually having some memories of his father before he went out on his own journey, but because Brock had spent all of his time as an adolescent with his mother, those are the ones that he remembers the most. The memories he holds most dear to his heart, and it's in these memories he finds echoes of the times past when his mother was battling in the gym. Brock digs deep to his first memory of Gyarados and the battle that it had had. There was a strong trainer that had come to the gym. They'd had a reputation for being undefeated, and it looked like his mother was going to be the next victim on his path of conquest. However, things changed when his mother sent in Gyarados. While Brock's mom had other fully evolved Pokemon like Blastoise, Tentacruel, and Cloyster, Gyarados was different. The ferocity that it brought to battle, the precision in its attacks, the way it was able to execute each assault. It was almost like watching a masterpiece unfold before the boy's eyes. In this moment is when he first developed his love of water Pokemon. It was almost as strong as the love that his mother had had for him and his siblings. Gyarados was able to make a comeback battling this opponent, bringing his mom to victory, much to the surprise of everyone in attendance. However, there's one feeling that Brock has from that battle that he hasn't been able to shake, and that was the overwhelming fear he had had after watching Gyarados battle. But as things calmed, his mother called him over, telling Brock not to be afraid. Gyarados meant it no harm. At first the boy was hesitant, but as Gyarados coiled up around his mother, Brock can see one truth in this moment. The serpent would do whatever it could to protect his mother from any harm. Suddenly, the feeling of fear was replaced by a feeling of calm, giving Brock the courage to actually step forward to join his mother as she scratched Gyarados on its favorite place right below its chin. The boy then asked his mom a simple question: why is Gyarados so calm around his mother? To which Brock got an answer that he didn't expect from the woman. She tells her oldest son that Gyarados responds to one thing, even though it may not look like it. If you carry love in your heart for the serpent, then it will respond to it, reflecting the affection tenfold. Gyarados is a proud Pokemon, and it's my oldest Pokemon. I've had it since it was a Magikarp, and this is where the young Brock makes a statement saying that Magikarp is the weakest of all Pokemon, to which his mother confirms is true. However, no matter how strong or weak it was, it never changed my feelings towards it. I loved Magikarp as it was, and when it evolved into Gyarados, that didn't change. However, Gyarados was finally able to show its affection for me in the battles that it was able to win. Brock then flashes forward a little bit in time to a new memory, a memory of when Gyarados took its first major loss that he had ever witnessed. However, even though everything about Gyarados was built on the pride that it had in its power, it still did not show any aggression or malice towards his mother, as she merely apologized for failing it as its trainer, as she again caressed that spot that it enjoyed underneath its chin. Then we ripple away to the last battle that Gyarados had with Brock's mother before she started getting sick. It was victorious, as always. However, this battle was different as Brock's mother gave the final command. She collapsed from the strain of it all. Gyarados was too caught up in the previous battles that they had to even notice anything wrong with Brock's mother, and as it launched the final Hydro Pump of this battle, it watched from the corner of its eye as its trainer collapsed. Even though the Serpent was able to win the gym battle, that didn't matter, as it coiled around its trainer, trying to do anything that it could to help it. But unfortunately, Gyarados could do nothing. After everything that the human had done for the Serpent, believing in it, showing it the love and affection that it had craved for so long, the big blue behemoth was unable to do anything in return. It's this exact moment that Brock remembers all too well. It broke Gyarados inside. Something snapped, causing it to rampage in that exact moment. And the only thing Brock's mother could do was recall it before handing the Pokeball to her son and telling him to keep it safe. It was quickly after this that things took a downward spiral, as his mother was then able to fulfill her duties as a gym leader, resulting in the gym getting less and less traffic and her Pokemon becoming neglected. But none more so than Gyarados, as the other ones were at least allowed outside of their Pokeballs to help out wherever they can, making sure that their trainer was alright. But unfortunately, that day finally came when his mother was no longer with him. Everyone got to say goodbye in their own way. That is, everyone except Gyarados. Brock was in charge of the Serpent, and he was afraid to let it out of its Pokeball. Then when his father came home from his journey to take over the duties of the gym, he just assumed control of everything. He didn't talk to Brock about anything. He didn't even try to reach out to Gyarados. And it's in this moment that Brock has an epiphany. It's because his father knew exactly what Gyarados was going through, and there was nothing that his father could have done to calm the Serpent in that moment, or potentially ever. And as Brock's memories fade back to the present, he is met with a sight that he wasn't expecting. Gyarados has its head just out of the water, staring at the boy with an intense rage that only it could be capable of. However, something in Brock has changed. The fear that he had always felt for Gyarados has been replaced with guilt. Guilt for how he treated the Serpent. Guilt for not giving it a chance to help it mourn. For not allowing it to just take out its anger and frustration. It's the only one out of everyone that loved his mother that hasn't been allowed to properly grieve. It's here that the boy does something that he never thought he would, to which causes Gyarados to get a little on edge, as Brock slowly begins to wade in the pool, trying to reach Gyarados as it snarls at the boy, kind of warning him not to come close. However, the boy is undetermined as he slowly pushes his way through the water. This causes Gyarados to become uneasy as it slowly begins to thrash about. However, the amount of damage that it took from that battle with the red Gyarados is obvious, as its strength is still weak. However, try as it might, it cannot scare Brock. The boy remains undeterred no matter how violent the waters become, as he pushes his way deeper and deeper into the pool until him and Gyarados find themselves looking face to face. The Serpent slowly begins to charge a Hyper Beam as it prepares to take out all of its anger and frustration on this boy. However, the boy shows no fear as he slowly begins to reach out his hand, trying to make its way to one particular part of Gyarados, the same place his mother always used to rub after they had a successful battle. The lower portion of its chin, right behind its mouth. This causes Gyarados to freeze as the memories of its trainer come flooding back into it. The Serpent slowly drops the Hyper Beam as it lowers its head to Brock's level, looking at a boy with a stare full of sorrow and anger, something that Brock is able to reciprocate in this moment when he tells the Serpent that he is sorry for everything that it has been through. He didn't take into account its feelings about anything, and Brock understands that the way it's been acting has been in a direct response to his mother's passing. He never wanted to cause it pain, and if there's anyone that should understand it, it should be him of all people. I understand if you would never want to want to take an order from me," Brock says. "That is your right, and after you've been treated, it's completely reasonable. Just know that my care for you is no less than what my mother's was." The serpent stares at the lone boy, unsure of what to make of it. However, this feeling is reciprocal with Brock. He doesn't know what it is, but he no longer has that overwhelming fear that he used to have whenever facing Gyarados. It's like everything has melted away, and all he feels for it is the emotion that his mother taught him: love. While Gyarados isn't his Pokemon per se, it is the last surviving bit that he has of his mother, and he will do whatever it takes to show it the same kindness and affection that his mother did its entire life. The next morning, Joe finds Brock and Gyarados asleep beside the pool of water. At first, the boy has ill thoughts, thinking that Gyarados may have done something to Brock, as he lets out a shriek of terror, which causes both of them to wake up. This forces Gyarados into a defensive coil around Brock as it begins to get aggressive. However, the boy just rubs it on his chin, telling Gyarados to be calm. Joe doesn't mean them any harm. "Wait, Brock, is everything okay?" Joe asks, to which the boy confirms that he is. Him and Gyarados were able to come to an understanding last night, and they were able to help each other work through something that they both needed. "So, what are you gonna do now, Brock?" The boy responds that he's gonna be spending the next week or so here at the Pokemon Center, until Gyarados is back up and ready to move around again. And then, providing that it's able to battle, he intends to re-challenge the gym, and he intends to use his mother's ace Pokemon, as Gyarados is a battler, and far be it from Brock to keep it from what it does best. It's here we fade a couple hours into the afternoon, as Nurse Joy told Brock that he needs to go take a break while she tends to Gyarados' injuries. So the boy headed inside to where he's met with Sonia and Leon. This is where Sonia reminds him that her grandmother requested that they call her, so that's what him and Sonia do. This is where Brock informs Professor Magnolia that Grookey followed him from the lab, so he would like to return it. If she could send over its Pokeball right away, then he would gladly return it to her. However, Magnolia stops Brock, telling him that she won't be doing that. Grookey has chosen the boy. That starter has been with more than half of a dozen trainers, and each one returned it within 2 weeks of it leaving the lab. She was beginning to think that it would never partner with somebody, but Grookey left the lab of its own accord to follow you, Brock, which means the grass starter has chosen you. So whether you like it or not, it is your Pokemon. Magnolia then sends over the ball, telling Brock good luck. She hopes that he's able to unlock Grookey's hidden potential. Before hanging up the phone, pulling the Pokeball from the transfer pad, Brock wonders what Magnolia meant by Grookey's true potential, as he looks at the grass starter before recalling it into the Pokeball, registering it to his Pokédex as his fourth Pokemon. This is where Joe chimes in, saying it looks like Brock may be ready for that gym battle sooner than he thinks, as they turn to see Nurse Joy presenting Brock with the Pokeball of Gyarados. And this is where we are going to leave things for now. So tell me, how did you feel about this part? What did you think about the battle that Gyarados had with the red Gyarados in the wild area, and how Kabo had to come to the raid? How did you feel about the backstory with Brock's Gyarados and the attachment that it had to its mother? And do you feel like his fear was justified and the two were able to come to some sort of agreement? Will there be any other divisions between the two going forward while Brock continues his Galar challenge? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And that's all we had for today's video. I really appreciate you guys stopping by to watch all the way to the end, and I just wanted to say thank you for that. If you guys really enjoy my content, consider following me on some of my other platforms like Discord, where you can get to know other people who are interested in what ifs, or on Twitter, where I post sometimes behind the scenes updates. Or if you want to help the channel grow a little bit extra, why don't you consider donating like the people right here have, as whatever you could offer could help us get to a larger audience by helping us get new videos done, or some of the projects that we've been working. Custom art is getting kind of expensive, so we want to make sure that we have the funds to do that. But with all that being said, I really hope you guys enjoyed everything, and I will see you in the next video.